Hello everyone, I'm here today with Mr. Maury White to discuss the issue of criminal justice reform in Florida. Now before we begin, do you consent to being interviewed on camera?
Yes.
Okay, well, my first question is for you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I am Maury Wright. I'm a candidate for state representative representing Western, Pembroke Pines, and Southwest Ranches. I am running because our party needs new energy, new ideas, and a new generation of leadership. Actually, politics wasn't something I was thinking about. I decided to run for office after I went to grad school a few years ago. I studied the Florida legislature and I saw it was made up of only millionaires and non-working people. So I decided to get up and run for office because I think now is the time for working class people and a new generation of leaders to stand up, to go to Tallahassee and make a difference in our state.
Okay. So now, tell me, what is your definition of social justice?
For me, social justice is giving a voice to the voiceless. Social justice is standing up for those who don't have the ability to fight for themselves. Social justice comes in many forms. It can be in criminal justice, it can be in economical justice, or it can be in equal justice where we fight for those who don't have a right equally. For example, think of the gay rights movement right now, where in our state we have an issue where gay people can be fired because of who they are. They can go to a job or they can be denied a house because of who they are. Social justice is standing up for people like that who don't have rights to stand up for themselves, who don't have a voice for themselves. And that's my definition of social justice.
Okay. Have you had any experience advocating for social justice? If so, what were you advocating for?
I have not per se had experience advocating for social justice, but I've always had a passion for innovation. I've always had empathy for others and a drive to make a difference. This is illustrated in my career. My first business I started was a company called Netcrossers. It was started because I was a young banker. I saw seniors having trouble use the web, and I went out and launched that company to try to improve their lives. After Netcrossers, I met some former nonviolent prisoners. I saw them with a product, a great idea created when they were in prison because they made a mistake when they were younger. And I went ahead and I helped them bring that product to market. We actually took that product to a product on TV. So in my life, I always try to help those who can't help themselves and try to make the community better. I'm a progressive capitalist, which means I believe we can all do good by doing good.
Okay. Is there any particular social justice issue that you feel passionate about?
Right now, I'm passionate about equal rights for immigrants, for gays, women, and especially former prisoners, because I spent a few years working with former prisoners, so that's very close to my heart.
Okay. How do you feel about the current state of criminal justice reform in Florida?
Well, we're ranked 35th when it comes to out of 50 states when it comes to criminal justice reform. We're very, very at the bottom. We still arrest people for marijuana. Still arrest people for minor offenses. We just passed a law that gives former felons their rights. However, the Republican legislature created a poll tax that made them pay a fine so they can't vote.
In light of the recent passing of the Voting Rights Restoration for Felons Initiative, otherwise known as Florida Amendment 4, the amendment we're still talking about, do you feel that the bill does enough to help reform criminals, and would you change anything to help it do so?
The bill, voting is your voice. When you vote, it gives you power. It gives you, it's the last voice that someone has to say, hey, I can send this person to office and they represent me. People are the boss of elected officials. So if someone doesn't have their voice to vote for the person who they want to be in charge of their community, they are not the boss of this democracy. So giving someone who's paid their debt to society their rights, it's a beneficial thing. It's a very beneficial thing because they did their crime, they did their time. Now they should get their time to use their voice and their power.
How do you feel about the state legislature's demand for payment of past fines and restitution before returning voting privileges?
This is very hurtful because in the 1800s, black folks were freed as slaves, but they weren't given the right to vote because there was a poll tax was implemented for black folks and poor white folks, which means they couldn't go to the polls because they had to pay money to vote. In the 1960s, the 24th Amendment was passed, which got rid of a poll tax, which gave equal rights to everyone. No matter who you are, no matter where you come from, you can go and vote and use your voice. By adding this to to the former prisoners, this is the equivalent of a poll tax. It's taking us back to the 1800s. America have progressed too far for us to have a poll tax in this day and age. Like I mentioned before, they did their time, they paid their debt to society, they should have a right to voice their power, which is voting.
My final question for you, Mr. Wright. After the passing of Florida Amendment 4, what do you feel is the next step for criminal justice reform in Florida?
Legalization of marijuana. I think we should legalize recreational marijuana. I don't think we should be sending young men to prison, predominantly black and brown young men, for smoking something that has been deemed safe, something that's been legalized in 5 other states, and something that would actually benefit our state economically. We've legalized it medicinally by an amendment 4 years ago, 65%, and we should legalize it recreationally, and we should expunge all those records of those young men who were sent to prison for smoking something that, really is not a hindrance to society.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Mr. Murray Wright, and thank you all for watching.